Hi, welcome to Black and White TV. My name is Bachelor Let.
And I'm Sean Cooper.
All right, so on Black and White TV, we tend to talk about topics that tend to divide us, topics that we would say are very black and white. And we find the gray.
It's usually not so black and white, is it?
Right, it's gray, like your mug.
A little bit,
Similar.
Yeah.
Yes, like that one. Yeah, and we lean into things that are awkward, things that, like I said, tend to divide us, tend to scare us even, dare I say, right? Things that are just sometimes hard and hard to engage in, but then we just go with the next.
So, okay, let's talk about this. We're talking about The Bachelor.
Yes.
And before we even get into that, which I can't wait. I mean, I've seen this show like 0 times. But
-0 times.
We'll figure out how we're going to talk about this. What are you binge watching right now?
Okay, so it's literally going to be the same answer all the time. It just depends on which show exactly. But I am currently watching a Korean drama, aka K-drama. Yes,
Interesting.
as always.
Subtitles?
Yes. I do not speak fluent Korean yet.
Can you speak any... You've watched how many of these? Dozens?
Many.
Speak.
Yes.
You have to know a Korean word.
Yeah, I know plenty.
Let's hear it. One.
Oppa, 엄마, 사랑해, 여보세요.
Do you know what any of these words mean?
Yes. So I said mom. I said older brother or my Pooh Bear, my schnookums. I said hello and I said thank you.
Did you just make that up?
No.
My Pooh Bear, my schnookums.
Well, that it would be your significant other or your older brother is oppa.
Pooh Bear or schnookums.
I call.
That's just, I don't know. We're going to have to look that up later.
No, I mean, like, I'm calling them, I'm saying pet names for someone's significant other.
Okay.
Do you not have pet names for your significant other, your Addie?
We have many weird names that
Can you share one, Sean?
No, not at the moment.
No, Sean, we're here.
Listen, I'm going to get in trouble.
Oh, they're secret
They're
pet
secret
names.
pet
Okay,
names.
that's fair. You can have
Okay, so you're binge watching K-pop movies.
No, I said K-drama. Korean drama.
So K-pop is music.
Yes. There's also K-hip-hop, K-R&B as well,
Okay.
if you don't know.
Okay. Do you listen to K-pop?
I don't.
So you're just into the movie part.
Just into the movie.
What?
Sometimes the soundtracks are so good that I will find this music, but it's not like...
Okay, well, since we're on the topic, what about the whole other genre, like Bollywood? Are you...
That is a whole other genre.
And
yeah.
do you watch any Bollywood films?
I'm cool with them.
Yeah.
I had a season, but no, K-dramas is my jam.
Why? What makes it your jam?
Sean, there are literally like 10 reasons.
Is it, are they comedies? Are they war movies?
So they have a variety of things. I tend to stay in the rom-com, right?
Oh.
So okay, wow. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
if
could've
you're
guessed
just
that.
listening in, you couldn't see the eye roll that happened.
The rom-com.
So Sean obviously is not a fan of the rom-com, but what I appreciate, there's a lot of depth to what they do, right? So
Depth to the rom-coms.
wow, haters gonna hate. So number A, it's another culture. That's beautiful. Food is huge in their culture, and it's beautiful. So that's beautiful to watch. They also are big into fashion. That's beautiful to watch. They also tend to be more clean in their way of expressing, right? So they're not an overly sexualized culture. So holding hands is a big deal. Hugging is a big deal. Kissing is a huge deal. And I actually appreciate that. And here's a big one. One season. I didn't even know I wanted one season until I had one season. And they tell you an entire story, beginning, middle, end. We're done. That's it. On to the next. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
It's quite magical.
That's good.
Yeah. I've gotten several other people and families into K-drama community.
Good. That's good.
What are you binge watching right now?
You know what I'm really into right now? It's
Is
kind
it
of...
WandaVision?
It's over, and it was great. I loved WandaVision.
Was it bingeable or no? It's not bingeable.
I think you can now.
You can.
But yeah, I was...
Would you if you could?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think you would like it because it's definitely filmed in this very unique way where they kind of film like an episode as if it was in the 60s, and then the next one's in the 70s, the next one in the 80s. So fashion changes,
okay,
slang changes, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But what I'm watching right now that's actually very timely with a lot of stuff that's going on with Harry and Meghan
on
Oprah.
He's on a first name basis with them.
The Crown.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
I have not.
So
it has been recommended to me. I told you I like Korean.
You should try British drama. It's good too.
I believe it.
But what is fascinating about it is just trying to, as an American, get your head around all the rules, and I mean, there's an aspect of it that's very beautiful and amazing, all the pageantry, but there's also this very dark side almost of just humans who aren't able to make choices really for themselves.
Right,
they're kind of in a bubble, and it's all made for them. So yeah, just fascinating.
So you're watching The Crown? I thought you were watching West Wing.
I'm watching West Wing as well.
Okay.
West Wing is what I watch when I work out. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Wait, say more. Are you like running and watching?
Yeah, well, that's what's so amazing is for those of you that are looking for something to binge watch while you work out, I highly recommend West Wing, because once
we work out differently, by the way. Once
you kind of learn the characters, like who's who with their voices, it almost you can listen to it like a radio drama.
Is that what you're doing?
Well, I watch it too,
okay.
But I just glance at it now and then.
Because you don't want to fall.
I don't want to fall on my face. But what happens is, like, I mean, it's the West Wing. 90% of the show happens in the same office spaces all the time. So you're not constantly wondering, like, where are they now? No, they're always in the West Wing. You know, so you're just kind of keeping up with the storyline. So yeah, it's very cool. Okay. I love it. It's good. Right. Okay, The Bachelor. Have you ever watched it?
I have.
Why?
Why is a great question.
Listen.
Yeah,
there's it's a huge following, right?
There is a community. Bachelor Nation is a thing. I would not consider myself to be a part of the Bachelor Nation.
Why?
Because the person who influenced me watching is my best friend. And I had no desire to watch it. I'm not crazy about reality TV. Sometimes if I do watch it, it's more of like, I like to study behavior. So I'm like, this is interesting. But other than that, I'm like, K-dramas.
Yeah.
So my bestie introduced me to my first Bachelor was Ben.
See, this is already getting too much. Your first Bachelor.
My first Bachelor. Baby's first Bachelor. So it was Ben and...
I'm not into this or anything, but my first Bachelor was...
Well, because I've seen 2, 3.
Okay.
This is the third one I'm watching.
And there's like 18 of them, right?
There's like 1,000 of them. I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea. Because you have Bachelor and the Bachelorette, so I don't know how many Bachelors, I don't know how many Bachelorettes, but I think there's a lot. So the first one I watched, she got me into it because she just made it more of like, again, looking at more of like wholesome stuff. I don't like stuff to just be cheap, just to get ratings. So I liked that he was a believer. I liked that, it was just, she was just saying it's going to be different. So I was like, oh,
so she sold you on The Bachelor being wholesome.
That particular season.
Okay.
Which I mean, I couldn't compare it to anything else. So I was like, well, it seems whatever. Anyway, so that was my first one. Second one was Rachel. Wait, I'm lying. I think there was one in between. JoJo? I don't know. But Rachel was the first Black Bachelorette. And so I did watch that one because she was a Black
And that was a few
Bachelorette.
years ago, right?
2017.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that was fascinating. I felt she was like super real. And I appreciated that. Like all various struggles that she experienced in that time. And she's married. Yay. So it worked out. Look at that.
Did she marry the Bachelor?
The person that she chose.
She did.
Yeah, she was the Bachelorette, so she gets to choose from the pool of lads.
And they're still together?
Yes, they're still together.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
I know,
cool.
right?
That's awesome.
So yeah, it worked out. And then I'm currently watching the first Black male Bachelor.
Which is the current season?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was a big to-do because he didn't even follow the normal path of bachelorism, where you are previously a contestant and then you are chosen. I don't know how you're chosen. And you're chosen to be the Bachelor. So he did not.
He was like the janitor or something. He just got picked out of nowhere.
Oh my gosh.
How does this work?
Be careful, Sean. No, he was not a janitor.
You said he didn't take the route.
He didn't take the normal route, but he was somehow in their nest, like in their pool. I don't remember. I don't know his whole story, and I don't deeply care.
So okay.
How come you don't watch it? How about that?
Well, I don't plan on it. So
no. How come? Like, why do you not watch it?
Well, you know what I was just thinking as you were describing it? To me in my head, it's like reality TV soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's because when I was younger, I was forced to watch some soap operas, and I'm just kind of anti soap opera in general. But
okay, maybe there's something to the eye roll earlier.
there might be.
Okay.
But maybe I should check it out.
Yeah.
I should give it a shot. Should I watch Bachelor or Bachelorette? Is it one better than the other, or are they kind of the same?
I think just so you can be current, watch the current one.
Okay.
I feel like there's a lot of psychological oof in there and like traumatic things that they are manipulating within it, so I don't like that. I literally, when I first watched it with my bestie, because she walked me through it, because many times I was just like, this is not right. Like, I was like, these people are going to need therapy. And she's like, they do have a therapist on site. I was like, what? Why do you know that? But anyway.
So it can be pretty traumatic.
Yes.
Interesting.
You're playing with people's hearts. Like, these people are really getting attached, and there's only going to be one person. Like, the whole time that out of these 30-something people, there's only going to be one.
Did you ever watch the movie The Truman Show?
Yes!
That's what it reminds me of.
It is kind of like that.
Everybody's just kind of like
knows.
gawking and yeah, that's crazy. Okay.
That's a good movie if you don't know.
All right, so the reason we're talking about The Bachelor,
yes,
in case some of you are catching up to current news, the host, Chris Harrison, was doing an interview with Rachel Lindsay, who was, as you mentioned,
Black Bachelorette.
So she went on
the only Black Bachelorette.
And she went on to have like an amazing career. She's still, you said she's a lawyer by trade.
Yeah, she's a
lawyer by trade. But she moved to entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's really brilliant, articulate. As watching her interview with Chris Harrison, I thought she did an amazing job sort of navigating that.
I think I thought a little bit differently.
On her part.
Yeah.
You thought she could have done better?
No, not even that. I felt like she got small in some instances.
And could have...
Yeah, I just felt like she kind of like shied away from certain moments within it. And that was just something I was observing. That's
interesting. We have not talked about that, but you're right. I could see where as anyone is watching that interview, you're bringing your lens, your baggage, your stereotypes, your biases, all of that. All of us are bringing that into watching it. And so it's interesting, the psychology of watching her, maybe from the perspective of somebody that wished she would have pushed harder.
No, I didn't. Not even. I don't wish that she would have pushed hard. I just know. I'm just saying what I noticed. I noticed some smallness in her like demeanor at certain moments of the interaction.
Why do you think that happened?
My observation is just that how he was coming was how she would then respond, right? Like there were moments where she would come in and be like, "But what about?" and "What about?" But it wasn't met with like. There were just a lot of misses, right? Like she might say something and he wouldn't respond directly to what that was. It was like something else, and it was just like a lot of like. It felt he would get defensive, and she would just back up in certain moments. Like again, I've seen her in other instances, and I found that she had moments within that particular interaction, and I even understood some of the shrinking in that particular instance. Like I've just experienced it myself too, of like talking to someone who is like super, just feels very right in their ness. And you're like, I'm not going to argue with you about where you think you are or whatever it is, and you just kind of like back up a bit. So it was interesting to watch.
Okay, so to recap, Chris Harrison, host of The Bachelor,
the whole franchise.
He's the president of the nation, right? And so Chris is talking to Rachel. And they have
two presidents, guys.
And they have a relationship. I mean, she was a contestant.
Yes.
She won.
Yeah.
I got the impression they probably have done a number of interviews over the years. So there's a journalistic kind of relationship with him. And it wasn't a very long interview, but maybe 12, 14 minutes if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
And it just progressively got more and more uncomfortable as it went on. Recap what he was trying to do. There's another contestant. It's on the show right now.
Rachel,
a different Rachel.
Yeah.
She attended a party a few years ago.
2018.
So she attends this antebellum party.
Yeah.
What describe that a little bit? I'm trying to remember the details of it.
Yeah.
Because you asked me, like, me being from Florida, from the South, have I ever heard of it? And I've never heard of them before.
Yeah. So I'm not like, don't like super quote me on this. I'm not like, I know the deep depths of this particular part. I don't know the deep depths. I know it's her sorority. Those parties are apparently banned. And so you have to be like, it's like special invite to even attend such a party. And it's just like it's like a dress up party where you're dressing up and reenacting, in a sense, like the antebellum South. That kind of thing.
Well, what I thought was, to me at least, one of the real strong points of that interview was it sounded like he was trying to make a case for, way back then, those kind of parties were okay.
All the way in 2018.
Yeah, and Rachel, the interviewer, was like, that was just a couple of years ago. It wasn't right then.
Right.
It's not right now either.
Yeah.
But then he just kept getting more and more defensive.
Right. And she even asked at some point, like, who would I represent if I was if I went to that party?
Right.
He didn't address that. Just kept it going on and was talking about the woke police.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
When, like, is there a certain whiteness? Is there a certain age? Like, when is the word woke? I feel like he shouldn't be using that word. And I don't know why. He used it, like, I'm going to guess, 5 or 6 times. Yeah. And every time he did, I was like, don't do that.
You cringed?
It's high cringe factor.
Yeah. It was also, again, it wasn't just what he was saying, it was how he was saying it, right? Like, it was very demeaning, and like, the woke police are gonna come for it, and the woke police are that whole thing. And it was just like, there's like this this feeling of like this gaslighting moment, right? Like, of, you are the one who's crazy. Like, you guys are seeing something that's not even really a thing. It happened all the way in 2018. She didn't know any better. She was 18. All these kind of things, and just really belittling the whole situation. When in fact, I think honestly, it could have been resolved quite simply. Like, you don't have to like deeply defend in the way that he was defending. It could have just been like, I don't know the whole situation. I do think that was a poor choice, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just very simple. But there was no ownership of anything. It was just all like, who am I? And who are you? And who are you?
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. And it was like, it was team too much.
Well, it seems like one of the things that America's really struggling with right now, with the speed of Instagram and Twitter and social media, you take the freedom of speech tension, which we are clearly struggling with as a country, and then you take volatile topics that are sensitive, demeaning, divisive, hurtful, and then you add mega corporations who are trying to control narratives. Stockholders, there's a lot of money at stake. And to your point, I also felt like one of the things that has to be figured out is, it seems like when these opportunities happen, rather than delaying the conversation for days or weeks, which that's when people are going out of their minds. Social media is blowing up.
Right.
People are making assumptions,
Right.
some good, some just crazy stuff. And it's hurting. It's not only hurting the people that were involved, it's perpetuating this culture that we're stuck in, which is attacking, dividing, ripping each other apart.
Right.
Some to make money off of people's and exploit situations. And so it seems like one of the things that's got to be figured out is how to live in those moments more quickly. it seems like we would have a lot more opportunity to have dialogue and talk about things before they get out of hand.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, yeah, it's there is a level of immediacy. I think people don't always want to just react, right? There's a way to react versus respond to things. And so I think it's okay in some respect to just like wait and then again respond rather than react, right? Because if you react, that's when it can get even worse, right? Because you just went like, well, they said this, so then I'm gonna say this, right? And it's more of like, can you actually do some self-reflection to the point where it's going to be an authentic response that you can actually back? You know what I mean? Rather than people, granted, I'm like, I say all that, but I'm like, people are still probably going to tell you what you should and shouldn't say and all that stuff.
Well, it seems like one of the things that is a huge challenge right now is trying to, it seems like there's nothing wrong with this. I think it's just human nature that we do it. But we are naturally in a constant state of judging and evaluating people's motives. We're in a constant state of judging their awareness or lack of awareness. And then it seems like we sort of allow things where it seems like where it starts spinning out of control is trying to understand how much space can you give people to process this stuff. You know, here we're talking about reality TV. I don't even know how many episodes they do in advance, how real time all of this is, but it seems like all of that with The Bachelor in this particular case, it has this real-time aspect to it, to where it's like, where's the place for Rachel, not the interviewer, but the one that went to the antebellum and she's in the, like, what's the appropriate time or space for that person to be able to be called out and then be able to respond? How do you do that when you've got these shows that are like on a clock?
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Is like, do we have like space for grace?
Right.
And honestly, that's not our culture.
Yeah.
Our culture is not a space for grace. Like, and I know it's going to seem very off topic, but it's similar. In that, like, when someone goes to jail in our country, in our culture, they serve their time. Maybe they even have probation. Serve their time. They will actually continue to serve time even after that, right? Because they're like, well, were you arrested before? What were you arrested for? You know, were you ever convicted of a felony, right? Like, there is no space for, like, you did it, you served it, you're done, that's it, move on, right? Like, this, and it's like that with this, I think, like, where it's like she did stuff, and then people found other things, like, you just find things, and then it's like, you did it. I don't know what serving time would mean, but even if she did, I think people could still be like, well, remember when that girl did this, or remember when you did this, like that kind of thing. So I don't know where your space for grace is. I think that's what we're asking is, can we lean into like people actually owning their stuff and then giving them space to like walk through whatever that means of like redemption,
right?
You know,
I love every piece of what you said, like, because we talked before about accountability and cancel culture. You've thrown the word grace in there, which I think needs to be a part of this dialogue, because it seems like for whatever reasons, the inexperience, somehow the newness of social media, which is, it's not new, but maybe it has a lot of newness to it in the sense that we're still not as mature as a culture as we might think we are, where we're messing up social media constantly. So I guess what I'm loving about what you're saying is, it seems like we're taking things like cancel culture, which is happening at a corporate level with brands and people's celebrity names and all of that. But how do you bring that down to the everyday? Because we're canceling people all the time. right?
Yeah, and I was just thinking about it too. Like if you and I had a conversation in which you deeply offended me, which I think has probably happened, and we couldn't move through it and we just severed the relationship, that would be like the low level normal human cancel. Right?
Like, that's the everyday cancel stuff.
Right, yeah. So Sean deeply hurt me. He was ignorant, whatever the case was, and we're done. Like, so that I think would be a miss. And that I think is where we are not moving into hard, brave spaces, right? Like, because, so there's different reasons as to why there actually would be an okayness with that. I think if it was like you did it intentionally out of malice or something like that, and you would probably continue to do it, that's an abusive relationship. But if it was something like you were ignorant to something or just unaware, but you're actually still wanting to maintain the relationship, then I can actually still move into like, here's why that was deeply hurtful. And we actually have had this kind of conversation, where I would share with you like why this was deeply hurtful, and then you had a chance to actually respond rather than react, not get defensive, lean in and listen and like just talk it all the way out. Like it gets messy when you have to talk it all the way out. It's very vulnerable, but then we get to have like a deeper relationship.
Yeah, so true. Well, it seems like you can pick almost any subject matter right now, and we all feel like we're the experts. You know, we read an article, we heard...
Or the headline.
Yeah, like we read a headline. We know about 0.5% of any given topic, but perhaps because of social media, we feel like we're just fully aware and dialed in on everything. Right. We're woke, right? And so
I do not like that phrase.
Let's not use that again. So I think
be awake.
Yeah, well, I think what needs to happen is, and it's very counterintuitive to our prideful ego, is I have to start admitting I don't know everything. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. And especially when you've hurt somebody, that's really not okay. Right. And so rather than the person who's done the hurting be the judge of whether you've been too sensitive
whether you should be hurt or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of that, we should be taking the posture of, okay, clearly I lacked awareness in that moment. Kind of like with what happened in that interview. For him to be able to say, hey, I clearly blew this. And I don't know, we've not talked about, and we did talk before recording that this stuff is changing by the hour because it's the Bachelor.
There's been a lot of apologies.
Yeah, so, it's changing by the time anybody listens to this again. But the point is pursuing awareness, having a spirit of humility.
And I also I don't want it to be cheap grace too, right? Like I don't want to just give grace just to give grace, right? Like I think there is a beauty in an apology that comes with actions.
Right, totally. So this is a longer conversation that needs to take place, and what I like about it, and what I like about the timing of black and white TV, to be honest, we've even talked about this before launching into this with James and Lauren, as we were talking as a team about this show. There was a piece of this where we were like, the timing is not great for us to do this on the one hand, because it feels like this is unexplored territory. It's very complicated. It's definitely not black and white. We're on a journey of learning. Therefore, should we even do this? Because it might come across that we're not going to know what we're talking about. But I actually think that's the beauty, is we're entering into space admitting we're not the experts.
Right. And we're not going to speak on behalf of...
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So friends, thanks for joining us. This has been awesome. I have learned so much. Thank you for joining us, and hey, keep the conversation going. Let's learn, let's listen, let's lean in. And let's see how our relationships can grow and see what happens this week. We'll see you next time.
Bye.